the theater set up and working, I yelled at my wife, this was amazing. I want it to look better than anything possible. There's not a bigger library of 4K titles than Kaleidoscape. Kaleidoscape checked the box of every other device that I had combined and then some. So now I'm kind of a 4K Dolby Atmos snob.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the AV Summit Day 3, and we are here with Brett and John from Kaleidoscape and Trinoff, right?
Yes.
Big boys.
That's right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. And so I'd like to introduce this topic today. So you all know you're at the AV Summit, and our tagline is Experience New Heights. So we've talked about experiences earlier today. Hisense, you're getting this new experience of 120-inch short throw laser TV. You're experiencing BT 2020. It's new, and now we are at the heights. The height of what? The height of experience, performance. There are a lot of opinions about what the heights mean. And today I brought in Kaleidoscape and Trinoff because it also means very expensive. But let's put that aside. If expense is not the issue and you just want what is amazing heights in home theater, what we have today are two companies that literally push what can be done with their respective space. With Kaleidoscape, we're talking about movie sources. You have the Blu-ray disc, you have your streaming, and then you have this server digital version where it's going as a mezzanine file from the studio to Kaleidoscape, downloaded into your hard disk. And this is not your grandfather's Plex server. So let's talk about Kaleidoscape. And wait, what's Trinoff doing here? Why did Kaleidoscape bring Trinoff on? I want to know. So with that, I'd like to bring on Senior Manager Dealer Engagement of Kaleidoscape, Brett Bortkist, because we're going to talk about what makes Kaleidoscape so awesome, so that those of you who are not familiar with Kaleidoscape, other than its reputation for being expensive and awesome, but why is it so awesome? Lossless quality, disc to digital, the movie store, award-winning movie store, and first-run movies. Okay, what does this all mean? Brett, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, FOMO. It's great to be here. And I think we've got a lot of really cool stuff to be able to talk about today.
All right. So let us start with what I'm always excited to know. A lot of people get a Kaleidoscape not realizing they have a very high quality version of this movie. Now, I don't know what that means until I saw a couple of reviews on Kaleidoscape. I go, wait, there is a higher bitrate version of this movie. I always thought 4K Blu-ray was the highest of both video and audio, but then some of the reviewers saying, well, they've been told that it's actually higher if you get the Kaleidoscape version. What is the Kaleidoscape version? So can you tell us, Brett, how is lossless quality on Kaleidoscape different than on a Blu-ray 4K UHD I can get on Amazon for $14.99?
Sure, absolutely. So, this is one of those things where, you've got the disc, and just like you said, I grew up, I've been collecting for more than 15 years, and it was always discs, right? Whether disc was DVD and then Blu-ray and then 4K, Blu-ray, that was always considered to kind of be the gold standard in there. But the way that works is even on a disc, a 4K Blu-ray disc, as an example, is usually either a 2-layer 66 gig disc or a 3-layer 100 gig disc. And both have their goods and bads. Obviously, being able to do 100 gigs is great, but having a 3-layer, that's where a lot of times you'll see people in the forum saying, hey, my movie keeps pausing in this area. It keeps having an issue. I don't see any scratches but trying to get through 3 layers, is more difficult for the lasers to do. So a lot of movies are done in 2 layers, but then that limits you to 66 gigs. And there's lots of movies, especially when you get into big action sequences and, lots of CGI that just go past that. And so one of the benefits of a Kaleidoscape system is that we never put those limits. So we're getting that same master file from the studios. We're not just taking a disc and then duplicating that. We're actually getting the file from the studio. It goes through our system and our algorithm. We have a team of content people here that go through and make sure everything looks right, sounds right. We tag certain things, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. But basically the file size is whatever it is. So there's a lot of movies. I've got about 50 in the latest big releases that, that are on a 66 gig disk, but our actual file size is somewhere between 75 and 105 gigs. And that just means less compression.
Okay. Well, that is what I thought I heard. And now I'm kind of excited, like, oh, wait, okay. So if I'm interested in this higher quality disc or higher quality digital version, then it goes to, I have a whole disc collection. And this is something that people have been telling me. This is why they moved on to Kaleidoscape. They were able to convert their disc to digital. And we have people asking, can they, they have current Kaleidoscape models. They want to import existing physical media now. They forgot to do it before. What is the process of taking your disc, which disc, what if it's a DVD, what if it's a Blu-ray, to digital, the Kaleidoscape digital? Can you go into that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to follow up on one thing on that last question. So in addition to our file sizes being bigger, the typical disc player, so 4K Blu-ray disc player, generally operates at about 50 megabits per second. Now that's a lot higher than streaming, which is oftentimes at 8 to 10 megabits per second. But what we do is our average is actually 65 megabits per second. So again, same thing. We're not compressing the file size, and we're making sure that our bit rate as we're running through is also higher than a disc player. And that's where we get that as good or better quality. As we come into the disc to digital question, this is actually a really cool feature that not everybody knows about. So we're always trying to educate consumers and the dealers on that. What you're basically able to do, this was started for our Premier client. So, if we go back, we still support every system that we've built out, for the last 15, 18 plus years. And so, all those systems, if a client needs support, all those products are still supported, which is pretty rare for a technology company. But what we wanted to do as we opened up the Kaleidoscape store, as we started offering 4K, was to be able to allow those people to take those DVD quality discs. So we're talking 480p, we're talking, HD Blu-ray, at 1080p, and be able to put those into the movie store where now they're able to take full advantage of that, higher quality video, or possibly, let's say, upgrading from DVD quality to HD, or DVD all the way up to 4K HDR UHD. And so what we're able to do is anytime you put in a Premiere system, it automatically catalogs your discs. So we know what movies you have and what movies you own. And then you're able to basically move those over, and often not just lateral, but up. So I can take those, like I said, movies. We'll use my system as an example. I've got about 700 discs that I've collected. Again, big movie collector. I've moved about 550 of those over. And so we were just chatting about beforehand, and I'm happy to show anybody in our booth afterwards. I was able to move, I bought at one point 109 movies, and it cost me $480. Now that mostly was moving DVD quality movies up to either HD or 4K. And my average sales price, you can see 109 for 485 is about $5 a unit. So to be able to spend $5 on a movie and upgrade the quality of it is a no-brainer. If you were buying that on disc, you'd have to pay full price again for it, or find it on sale, or, which makes it a little bit harder. So it's a great value add that we offer to our clients. And if somebody has if they're thinking, because I agree, it's one of those things, what do? I want to buy a Strato, I see and understand it, but I've got this huge collection, 300 to 500 or more movies. Like I said, if somebody reaches out to me, they can reach me at training@kaleidoscape.com, or just chat with your dealer, and your dealer will reach out to me. We have ways of being able to help that client catalog those discs so that they can get that special disc to digital pricing, which is huge.
Brett, I have a great follow-up because, okay, so first, as a setup to this is what I'm sure you always hear, this refrain: I'm a physical disc media guy, convince me different. And on top of that, one of the reasons why they're a little bit suspicious, skeptical, is the file sizes might be bigger, but how much of that is metadata, right? Just extra information, a larger index, and how much of it is actually entering video quality, audio quality? Can you speak to that?
Sure. So it's not really metadata. I mean, if you really look at it, we tag things. So we are tagging aspect ratio. So if you have an electric screen mask, We can automate that process for being able to, automatically adjust it to fit. So if you're watching a 1.85 movie or a 2.4 movie, we also tag the intro and outro scenes. So when a movie starts, we can actually send a cue to the control system to be able to automatically dim the lights for you. And as the movie ends and the outro credits roll, we're able to, send a command and the control system can raise the lights. Those are simple tags. That doesn't take up any space. So really the reality is that 10 to 35% difference in the compression size versus say a 66 gig disc is all picture, so it's picture and sound. Now, most of the time, on a disc, the max rate, bit rate on a audio, like an Atmos track, is usually locked at 24.5. So that's pretty standard. So if you put it on a disc, are they using the full 24.5? I would assume so. It's difficult to really be able to see that. But like I said, that compression is definitely picture and, image quality. And then some of it could be audio, but probably more picture.
Now, speaking of, so let's say they're convinced they want to go into Kaleidoscape, and they bought stuff in the past. They got a 1080p download, and now you have a 4K version.
Sure.
Do you need to repurchase it at full price? Is there a discount? Or let's just start with the disc to digital. What's the cost of that? Then you're into digital. You got 1080p, and then there's an upgrade on Kaleidoscape to 4K. Is that additional cost? Help us out.
Sure. So I'll give you two examples that obviously I bought into and a lot of us have as they've come out. So Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, right? Two hardcore collections that were upgraded, in the last, 6-8 months now. And so if you bought those, most of us own those at multiple formats, right? All the way back to Laserdisc and VHS and up through. So if you have, let's say you owned it like I did in DVD quality, when they came out. So obviously we all know disc users were scrambling to get box sets and, weren't getting their deliveries on time and all those kinds of things. Our people were able to, myself included, that's a disc to digital upgrade. So in this case, each of those movies only cost $10 to upgrade for me from DVD quality to 4K HDR Atmos.
So that's actually cheaper than going to Amazon and getting the 4K version.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, nobody did, from a movie standpoint, nobody's discounting those movies on day one, right? So, there are a lot of times, and I think that's a point that comes out every once in a while is, well, isn't Kaleidoscape more expensive? And that's really not always the case. Obviously, like I said, if it's a first run movie, it's just coming out. The studios set those prices, and we're not always discounting quite as heavily as an Amazon or somebody else might be. But there's a ton of movies, frankly, in that $15 range, and the average is probably 20 to 25. But a ton of movies, and then some sales stuff that I'm sure we'll chat about as well.
Okay. And this is one where Batter might be considering it. He's wondering, is there support for Dolby Vision if he has an amazing Dolby Vision enabled TV? Does Kaleidoscape version have Dolby Vision?
Sure. So fair question. And we get this a lot in there. And again, there might be some people that I saw some people chatting earlier that have a Kaleidoscape system. So if they want to chime in as well, I'll give you my two inputs. So one, we do not, so he's correct. We do not currently support Dolby Vision. We do support HDR. Now, obviously, if you look at the heart of Kaleidoscape and where we've started, it's typically on projectors. Up until just starting kind of, in the last month or two, as you know, there were no projectors with Dolby Vision. So, it hadn't really been that much of an issue. And carrying HDR and the rest. Now, obviously, our engineering team is always looking at what we need to do. And as new TVs come out and panels come out, and, like I said, I just picked up an 83A90J. So a great panel. So I understand that. And then, 100-inch, which we had at Cedia. But really the HDR, and when you get that, again, the best possible resolution, basically visually lossless and audio lossless, you're not going to notice that much. It looks phenomenal. And so that's usually where we go with that. But for future development, we'll probably add some.
Now, to your point, because this is near and dear to my heart, I review a lot of TVs. And that question pops up all the time. Dolby Vision, HDR10, HDR10 Plus. And for everyone who's listening, who's concerned about Dolby Vision, if you have a bright TV, we're talking high-end bright TV, not projector, and it's rated at easily over 1500 nits. We're talking flagship Samsung, some of the flagship Sonys. HDR10 is good enough. Dolby Vision brings less to the table. If you have a lower end model, let's say a Sony X900H, let's say something that's more mid-tier and light HDR effects, it's not getting there. That's when Dolby Vision comes into play. And a lot of people don't realize that's why Samsung doesn't do Dolby Vision. They're like, I don't need Dolby Vision because they're so bright. There's not the lower end Samsung, it's the high end. So for those of you concerned about Dolby Vision, most of you, if you're getting a Kaleidoscape, I know you have a high-end TV. Don't worry about it as much, but that's always rife with conflict. So I just want to throw that out there. My personal opinion is when I do my reviews, I only use HDR10 to compare TVs to TVs because the Dolby Vision doesn't bring that much. But this is one question that I had for you. What about my 1,000 plus Apple TV digital films? And you and I talked about this. I have the same thing.
I know.
What's happening there?
So as it stands right now, as we just talked about, we've got that great disc to digital, right? So that's really taking the physical media side and moving it over. There is not, as of today, a digital to digital, kind of conversion in there. And that's typically because I have movies on Apple TV as well. So, I mean, again, I think we've all gotten into that same place as we all test this stuff out. So it is stuff that we're always working on. Again, we're always working with the studios. We're working with the various platforms. So it isn't something that's there today, unfortunately. But a lot of us also have, a lot of the movies I have on Apple TV is because it's the digital version that I got for free when I bought the disc. So sometimes we have to look at both, right? Did I buy the 1,000 movies, which some people do? Or is it that I have those digital versions, but I also have the disc, which then would allow me to do disc to digital. So if we open that up, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But as of right now, there isn't a way to be able to transfer it digitally.
Okay. And for those with a disc collection, I assume it's pretty easy to bring their disc into Kaleidoscape. If they buy Kaleidoscape, you have a process that makes it fast and easy to get their disc into digital, right?
Correct. So it only takes about 10 seconds a disc. I've got guys that as we've been helping them out, are racing to the finish. I tell somebody they got like 110 movies done in an hour and a half, and then somebody else tries to beat that. And I had a guy the other day in about less than 48 hours did over 500 movies. So
that's fast.
Oh yeah. So super simple, you guys. Again, one of those things that, reach out to me. I'm happy to have that conversation and explain it more, or reach out to your dealer. And, again, they'll either know it or reach out to me.
So the reason why I brought up the question about the digital to digital is because you have a new CEO. Maybe I can appeal to him to think about this because my understanding is, Taylor, your new CEO is not just the CEO. He was an owner. Yeah. He loved it so much. On the board, now he's the CEO. So he wants to make Kaleidoscape more accessible to people with real world problems, which is, I got 1,000 digital versions. I want this new one, right? So put that on top of his list. But more movie deals, you're going to have a lot. So I don't think a lot of people understand your award-winning movie store is one thing. It's easy to navigate. It's easy to filter for the things that you want to find. But you also have regular deals. Can you talk to me about the movie deals or the new developments that's happening under this the new CEO?
Sure. So Taylor Stansbury came in at around probably November of last year. So we're pretty much coming up on a year now for him. And there's been quite a few changes. So, as guys like me have come on, he's been building a strong team. So I come in and usually am educating dealers, but I spend a lot of time in the consumer forums as well. As some people have seen, we brought in a new VP of marketing. So Norma, we brought in a new VP of engineering, Tom Vaughn, and then a new VP of content. So again, working with the studios with Heather. And so really it's kind of a tag team of everybody really pulling together along with everybody else is on the team. To be able to bring these things out. And so one of the first things you did, Taylor did, like you said, was, coming from a consumer perspective, he's owned Kaleidoscape since 2007 personally, was, how do we get the digital prices down? So, we were talking about that a little bit ago and the great prices that people are able to get there. That's a lot because of our content team working with the studios and that directive from Taylor. So that was one first piece. Then as you talked about the movie store, so, our movie store, it's amazing the fact that it has more than 13,000 titles in it, more than 50 different studios involved with it. So again, the content team does a great job of adding content in there. We also have more than 1,300 4K titles. And that's about 30 to 35% more than is even available on disc. So there's lots of titles that we're getting in 4K that have never been and probably will never be available onto disc. But what's great with that is that since I've been kind of keeping track since March now. So since March, we've had pretty much every week there's a movie sale going on. And so this would be kind of like your bundles that people are looking at. So we've had, what did we do? We did a Marvel sale. So we've had a Marvel sale twice in the last quarter where every Marvel movie is about $10. We did for May the 4th. We had a May the 4th be with you, right? So all Star Wars movies were $10. And then when the Oscars were coming up, the Academy Awards this year, we had Oscar winners and Oscar nominees that were all either $10 or $15. And there were about 130 movies on there. So there's a lot of times where, you know, again, as we talk about pricing versus, you know, scouring the internet to be able to find a disc price, there's a ton of opportunities for people to be able to buy their movies at or below what it would cost you to buy in physical. And you're going to end up getting, like I said, as good or better quality, and everything is all in one place. So you don't have to worry about disc management, where I store them and all that kind of stuff.
Now, speaking of cheap titles or less expensive titles, to get there, we actually have to pay pretty good money. So let's get your entry level out of the way. $6,000 for the Stratos, 6 terabytes. This holds 100 4K movies. This is everything they need, right, John? Right, Brett? Now, you have a promotion with Sony that if they buy a Sony MSRP $49.95, that means MSRP. It's not what the street price. As long as it's MSRP at $49.95, which means today it could be $4,000. Doesn't matter. You'll get $1,000 off the Strato S. So now it's $5,000. When did this start? Like, what led to this? Like, where was this when people were buying their Kaleidoscape, or now that they're considering it, they're going, wow, maybe this is accessible. Can you explain how this partnership with Sony happened?
Sure, absolutely. You know, there's a lot of good brands out there, obviously, on the, you know, on the video side, but, you know, Sony does an amazing job. And so, you know, we were finding a lot of people that are buying Sony projectors and or Sony, you know, panels, OLEDs in the larger sizes, were often buying Kaleidoscape systems as well. And so we wanted to just kind of bundle it up to make it easier. So as you mentioned, you know, this promotion is great and I love it. Just like you said, the MSRP is $49.95. So that means, you know, if a product's on sale or happens to go, you know, as we're getting closer to Black Friday and all those kinds of things for the holidays, wherever that price is, as long as it fits. So at $49.95, that's pretty much every 4K Sony projector, right? That's 325 and up. So bulb based, up to the 915 and up, which would be your laser based. And so you're going to get $1,000 off. And that's not just off the Strato S, that's off any system. So again, if you were looking at a brand new compact Terra or the full size Terra, getting $1,000 off is a, you know, great way to just kind of bundle it up, save that client a little bit of money. And frankly, put that, you know, you can do whatever you want with it, but put that $1,000 towards getting some good content or moving those discs over to the Kaleidoscape system.
Or if you already have a Kaleidoscape system, you can put that $1,000 towards a 72 terabyte Terra. Okay, so I actually was impressed that you have so many storage options, right? You have the 6 terabyte starter, and then it goes up to 18 terabytes as a possibility, right? And then you could jump up to 72 terabytes. Who has that large of a collection? Like, and not me, but can you tell me, did your clients demand 72 terabytes? Is this the directive of the CEO? Where do we get this?
That's right. So obviously that's a little big for some people. But I'll tell you, you know, I have 850 plus movies in my Kaleidoscape system now. Once you start collecting and we see all these sale prices and everything, it's a pretty easy to start racking them up, especially if you had a large disc collection before. So what we usually find, there are some new people that are going into that, but a lot of them are people that actually bought those smaller systems. They bought a Strato S 6 terabyte in the beginning because they were dipping their toe in, right? $6,000 is a lot cheaper than 20 grand or 30 grand. And so they dip their toes in, they love it. But what I often get told is, I wish I had more storage. So, you know, we're finding more and more people that are using that as they use the disc to digital, as they're buying the sales prices, as they're buying movies in general, that they end up needing more storage. And so, you know, the people ask and we produce. And so just before CEDIA this year, so right in September, we launched our 72 terabyte, and it's been even as we were launching it, we were already sold out through it. We do have product, but I mean, we just started cranking through them. So it's always surprising, but there's always somebody willing to buy it.
Oh, look at that.
That's right. 1,200 movies, you guys. So, again,
Wow.
but I'd already be 2/3 of the way through that one. So, I mean, and again, for people, the beauty of Kaleidoscape is that you really can continue to grow and stack. Those old Premiere systems can be integrated with the new Strato Terra systems. If you bought a smaller Strato system and want more storage, you can add a compact Terra or a Terra. If you need another movie zone, you can add a Strato C to be able to pick up a second zone. So there's always a lot of very simple ways to be able to grow that system from where you might start.
So wait a second. What you're saying is the Strato C here, it could be for a second room or something like that.
Correct. So we all often start with the theater, right? Because that's kind of that first room that you'd be considering it for. But once you've started collecting movies, there's times where I'm like, why wouldn't I want to finish a movie in bed, or or let the kids watch their Disney movies in the kids' playroom. So you can add a Strato C, and as long as it's on the local network, it will basically pull the Terra and the compact Terra or the servers, and they'll just move those movies over so you can watch them in any room where there's a Strato C.
And does that have to be hardwired, or is it Wi-Fi, or how does that work?
So because we're passing so much data, it does need to be hardwired. So just an Ethernet, but really simple: power, Ethernet, and an HDMI to the TV. So or your Pro processor. So really easy to do, but yeah, wireless would still be a little difficult at this point for that much data.
So Brett, we're having so much fun. Do we have more time with you? We're running out of time, but I want you to spend more time with us. We're going to push the stream a little bit longer because I got a lot of questions for you. I'm excited about the whole Sony partnership, but then you also have partnerships with other companies. So I wanted to review those. So Lutron, obviously, they're a lighting installer. Meyer is a speaker company. Josh AI is a voice command system that's like the Amazon lady on steroids. So how does Kaleidoscape work with Josh AI? That one is kind of curious to me. What does that mean?
Sure. So, Josh AI is a great platform. It's typically a product line that's more serviced by dealers. So, Alexa, we can buy pretty much anywhere for, $25 and you've got a voice solution. But there are a lot of people that are willing to pay a little bit more for a little bit more privacy. So, a lot of us, have that concern of, what am I saying into an Alexa or a Google, and how are they using that information for my requests and things like that? So while both of those solutions are great, Josh really provides a more private platform. So it still works in the house. It works the same way. You ask Josh to do stuff and it responds, and it controls lights, and it controls, all those different technology pieces, same as any of the other voice controls. But it's considered from a privacy standpoint, it doesn't use any data. It doesn't record it. And so for a lot of people that, have a, more of an edge towards privacy, and that's a concern for them, Josh AI provides a great solution for that. And so that was one that we launched again right before CEDIA. So in September, and you can use that to basically turn on your Kaleidoscape system, transport controls. And then we're working right now on a version 2, which will likely do some direct control where you can pick a movie and just have it queue up and start playing automatically.
So among these partnerships, the one that interested me the most, and that's why we kind of forced John on today, John Heron of Trinov Audio. I'm so sorry, John. I know you had so many things to do.
I don't know if you noticed, but people have been saying that your beard is epic and that your beard is actually in HDR. Like that's what's been happening. So
that's awesome. About a year ago, my wife said she liked beards, and I've always had a beard, but it was usually short.
Trim.
Right. So yeah, I've just been letting it go to see what she likes.
I have like 5 hairs, right? one day it'll be a John Heron beard.
They are almost the same.
Yeah,
it's not because it's not HDR, right? So Kaleidoscape lossless audio. Obviously, it's higher quality, higher bit rate. Trinov Audio. I have the Trinov Altitude 16, and I have a second one for 4-channel stereo. So I love what Trinov does. Now, I did not know that Kaleidoscape brought Trinov on board as a partner. So those of you who don't know what Trinov is, now you know what Kaleidoscape is. Quick intro. Trinov Audio is an amazing processor-driven company out of France. They have I'd say, a unique product that takes the entire room into consideration for home theater from 16 channel, now 20 channel, right, John? 20 channel
Right.
all the
Well,
way up
soon.
to, soon. All
Yeah.
the way up to 40, depending on the product you get. So if you have a bunch of speakers and you want Oro 3D, you want Atmos, you want this matrix where all your speakers are being used correctly and you get to see what's happening with their visual optimizer, the Trinoff system is for you. And they have this amazing microphone that's three-dimensional, looks like this, right? And so it gets you kind of like that optimized immersion. And that's why I like it. I do it specifically for home theater. This takes us back to your partnership with Kaleidoscape after all of that,
Right.
which is, what are you guys doing with this collaboration? I'm hearing that Trinoff Audio, you selected a bunch of movies for them,
Right.
hand curated by you personally, John. What's happening here? What's the deal? What led you to this?
I did a lot of it. I also worked with Chuck Back, who's kind of my opposite number on the West Coast. But for anybody who's been to CEDIA or maybe ISE and has seen one of the demonstrations that I've been involved with for the last 10 or 20 years, we always use the Kaleidoscape scripting capability because it makes everything so much smoother. We can, in a reasonable amount of time, show people exactly what our system can do, because the Kaleidoscape has a feature that not too many people know about, that allows you to create scripts. So you can think of this as like an iTunes playlist, except that it's for movies. And much as with an iTunes playlist, you don't have to watch the whole movie or listen to the entire album. You can pick just one song or one scene in a movie. You can even define your own scenes. Most of the scenes that you'll want to watch are already defined for you with some of the tagging that Brett was talking about earlier. But you can also create your own. And so what we did was I went through all of the demos that I've used over the last few years, tried to pick out the ones that I thought were the most effective in terms of both picture and sound. And I created 4 different scripts. There are 2 different action movie scripts, one of which is a little bit more kid-friendly and one of which is really for adults only because of like John Wick 3 has a lot of blood and guts. It's a little too realistic for small children. But then I also have a family-friendly movie script that is mostly animations and really fun stuff. That's actually maybe my favorite of the bunch. And I also have a music script of both concert videos and songs from movies that are, primarily songs as opposed to plot. So it worked out to, for, let's say you buy your Sony TV for, MSRP of $5,000, you get $1,000 off the Strato or whatever your system is. With us, if you buy a Kaleidoscape system at the same time that you buy the Altitude, and this promo is going from now until the end of next year, so it'll be there for a while. We are working with Kaleidoscape to get you $1,000 worth of content, and we can even give you those playlists, the scripts. And the scripts that I created for this application are a little bit longer than the ones I'd use at a trade show because it's in the comfort of your own home. So instead of 15 minutes, it's maybe 25 minutes. But it's a great way to kind of show off your cool new system to all your friends. And I mean, you'll enjoy all the movies because they're great movies. But if you want to do a quick demo for your buddy who, you want to brag a little to, it's the best way of doing it. It's great.
Since you do a lot of demos with movies to show off the Trinoff system, can you tell us which are your favorite for music, audio? Just a couple, just throw it out there, because those of us that may not have a Kaleidoscape, we still want to benefit from Trinoff's hand-selected movie selection, right? Because I, as reviewers, we choose scenes for video that does something or other, but I don't review audio well enough yet. And if I do review audio in movies, I have no context. So let's hear what your favorite audio scenes or cuts that you've used or are identifying here on this list.
So one that comes to mind is from a movie, not a concert video. It's from A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga, and it's the Shallow song. And if you know the context, well, we don't have time to get into that, but it's really well recorded. And even one of the things that I'm looking for in these little demos, these little scenes, is I want something that kind of tells a story. That it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, because I don't want you shouldn't have to have seen the movie to understand what's going on. So I'm looking for sort of self-contained little miniature stories within the larger story, so that people don't get frustrated at, oh wait, I want to see more. What happens after that? And so yeah, that's one of them. There's an Adele live at the Royal Albert Hall, which in my mind is the best sounding of all of Adele's recordings. It sounds better than her CDs, and I don't know how much of that is Kaleidoscape versus a CD, but I know it sounds better. And you may or may not like Adele, but I was turned on to her by my kids, and I think she's great.
There you go.
I love Adele as well. Sammy Prescott, he is a calibrator and he has an amazing system himself. I spoke to him last week. His question, has a Kaleidoscape upgrading to Trinov? Is there any promo that you know of that's happening with Trinov in the coming months, if they already have a Kaleidoscape?
So
go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, John, I know Sammy as well. So Sammy, thank you for joining in there. I helped him with his some of his Kaleidoscape stuff, and we chat. And so if you give us a call, we can take a look. It's obviously, the idea is when you buy two things together, it's kind of a bundle promotion. But we always kind of, as we talk about with disc to digital and movie stores, once you kind of buy in, FOMO, as you said, hey, you're looking at $6,000. I know it's not a small amount, but for all those people, and I know I've seen them circulating on here, the people that buy into the systems love it. And they love it because they're getting the support. They know they're getting help with stuff. So I am sure Sammy, and I know there's a few others that are looking as well. Give us a call. Reach out to your dealer, call me directly, or hit up John. I'm sure there's something we can do. But the promo specifically as it stands is about a fresh purchase of both together.
Buying the two together.
Yeah, but obviously, our thing is, if you've got great source content, that's the first step, right? Making sure you've got the best content possible. But you still need great quality down the chain, and so, that's a lot of why we partner with these guys that we do, in this case with Trinov, because, hey, if it's time to upgrade that AVR to, separates, and you feel like, again, you can use the room collaboration, everybody can, it's just obviously a question of spend. But Trinov is a great way to be able to do that. So, again, if you call me up, I'm happy to do whatever I can to reach out and bring that up to the top. And I'm sure, John, on your side, we can probably do something similar, right?
And, Brett and John, so I think, Brett, you just brought up a topic that I want to end on, because I think this is why we're here in the high, right? These are the highs, experience new heights. When you're buying a premium system, it's not just, oh, well, it's high, well engineered, well thought out, great user experience, whatever. But it's the level of personal service. So when Brett says, give me a call, you are never going to get that from any brand. Doesn't matter. Now, honestly, even Sony will not say, give me a call. John and Brett, I am a consumer. I have the Trinov. So when you guys see John talking, I talk like this with him all the time. And it's not because I'm an influencer, right? You all will get the same level of interaction. Like, hey, John, hey, Brett, what movie does this, or this? Literally like, oh yeah, why don't you do this? That's what you're buying into. You're buying into the community of owners, but into the company itself. And I think that's so important for me to bring up, because a lot of times I get the question, well, you could have gotten a $6,000 Denon. Why did you go with a Trinov? They have Oro 3D and so forth. I said, it's because I can always call or text or email John, and he'd let me know, oh, no, do this. Or I could have, like Matt Pose, go in the internet, log in directly into my Trinov and fix something, EQ it again. That's what we're talking about, is they design their system so that you could have that level of interaction with the product and the brand and the engineers. That, well, it does cost money, but I just wanted to bring that out there, because oftentimes we're just comparing spec for spec, which is unfair when so much of that money goes into the staff of John and Brett who are working as part of that spec. But you don't see that on the piece of paper, right? You see Synad and you see all the distortion, but you don't see the name John Heron in there, because if you did, there would be no name on any of the products you're comparing to, because they don't have that equivalent.
Right.
So and I want you guys to share with me the stories you have with your owners, that because they're owners, you've helped them out personally. Or maybe it's too private.
Here's Don.
So thank you, Don. I see the comment on there. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and this is one of the things that I bring up as well. We saw the comment earlier on, I'm a big physical media guy, convince me. Well, yes, I can talk about why we're good or better, from a perspective of, overall file size or, megabits per second, in the bit rate going through there. And those are all the objective pieces, the science that runs behind that. But at the same time, like you said, there is no other brand that cares in the same fashion. Our content team is going in and creating those demo scenes like John brought up, so that you don't have to sit there and figure it out or put them in. You can customize them because our engineering team has spent the time doing that as well. When we look at our, again, our content team on the studio side, they're working hard. We just added HBO, trying to get exclusive content in a digital format, onto another platform is extremely difficult. But we're able to get that exclusive content in there. And when we talk about studios and the rest, or, again, we always talk about, as movies come out, with Black Widow, by the time you were able to buy one and get your disc shipped to you, our owners had already had that full lossless, enjoyment for about a month. So, that's our studios working with the, or our content team working with those studios.
So, let me jump in real quick. So
yeah, go ahead.
If something is coming straight to streaming to HBO Max or whatever, like how far away are your customers getting it at that same time as well?
So it depends on the content, depends on the studio, depends on the title, right? Okay. To be fair, HBO is like 2 weeks fresh. So a lot of it is, we picked up Game of Thrones, Sopranos, The Wire, all those movies and TV shows that were exclusive to HBO. We basically have available now, on a Kaleidoscape system. So you can buy those seasons, or Paramount. So, we had a sale last week, or an announcement where, the Blacklist just came out for the new season. So we had all the previous seasons available there for people to pick up. So we are working on that now. Will they give us something on day one? It's always hard to say. If HBO came out with new content, tomorrow, would we get it, or would it be 3 months later? Obviously, a lot of these studios, are big on having that exclusive content. That's what keeps you in as a user. But our thing is, hey, there's nothing on HBO if you're watching it on a streamer that's lossless. So
of course,
our belief, and as we talk with the studios, is sure, make it convenient for people to be able to watch that movie or that content on that HBO streamer. But when I want to be able to sit down and truly enjoy it in lossless quality, and the best resolution possible, I'm happy to spend, if we're, to be able to buy that content so that I have it. Same as we would if it was a physical disc. So sure. I think that's really how I look at a lot of that.
And now I know we got people excited because now they have a better understanding, right? Daniel McQueen, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Thanks for your time today, guys. Been researching for months without
the previous comment. Yeah.
Without the answers I received today. And this is why we're here today at the AV Summit. It's to dive into what's important to consumers, right? We're not dealers. We're not installers. Those are the spec guys. We're here to find out for the user, your questions and your use cases are very different. And I would like to end with this question. I think now that we've got people excited, they do know what their budget is. Fred knows he wants it. Any plan, a monthly payment plan? And then I asked the question, wait a minute, do you mean a subscription service? Do you mean a payment plan?
No.
Of course, they said, how about both?
There we go.
So now they're interested. If they're asking, what can I do? Do my kids need to go to college? What are your plans for that? And you have a new CEO, so I'm hoping he hears this.
So yeah, I think in a lot of these, yes, a monthly lease to own plan. I don't know that is on the roadmap at the moment. I will say though, that's why we normally go through dealers, right? Because dealers are selling all the equipment. They're selling Trinov and us and Sony. If we're using that example, they may have a payment plan or a card or something that they can use. Chris has a credit card. Absolutely. That's your monthly payment there. But, check out your dealers and see, what they have available. Because not all do, obviously, but some do have financing in some different ways. Yeah. I get that. But I think for a lot of us, I'm always of the opinion, if you buy good quality, it's going to last. I get people all the time in the forums that will tell me, they've owned their Kaleidoscape system for 10, 15 plus years. And we see that a lot. And I think that's a testament to quality. And John, I want you to jump in on there too, because Trinov, the way that it's basically a big computer. It has the ability to update. So I think, Trinov runs that same thought process. And I think that's why, they're such a great partner and such a great value. But John, I'll let you talk about that as well, because I think you guys do the same.
I don't think we have enough time to get into a lot of detail, but the fact is we can do a lot of things that nobody else can do. And much of that is driven by the architecture that we decided to use. It's a software-based system rather than relying on third-party DSP chips. All the software that runs on the system, aside from the original native code from Dolby for Atmos and from DTSX and from Oro, those obviously we get from those companies. But even there, the fact that we have a software-based system helps because we can run the original code that we got from Dolby, whereas they send that same code to a chip company, and it has to be sort of simplified a little bit so it'll fit on an affordable DSP chip, because the only way a chip company makes money is by selling a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So it is a different approach, but I'm with Brett. I'm a big believer not only in this business, but like woodworking is my hobby. If you spend the extra money for quality, you cry once and then you enjoy using it every day thereafter.
Cry
and that
once,
is so much
once,
better.
Once, right?
But it's so much better than buying something cheap that aggravates you every single time you use it.
It feels like I'm crying every day now. I don't know. This entire AV Summit has me crying.
And you know what? To the people who are asking about the financing, our next event or next summit, next presentation is from Valley Electronics. Yep. And so I just looked at their site. They have 1 year interest-free financing. So like you're saying, you might want to look at your dealers and see what they have to offer. Yeah.
And Robert's great.
Let me volunteer that. I bought my Altitude 16 exactly on that plan. I called up Electronics and go, why pay cash? Inflation, 0%. I want my money to work for me. And Robert's like, why didn't you ask? So I got it financed, and now I'm sleeping on the couch. So we'll see.
You're sleeping in the studio. What do you mean?
Right. Last week I has been. So everyone, if you guys have more questions, I know you do. Trinov, very technical. You may have a lot of questions related to them or Kaleidoscape in terms of compatibility or your current system. Where will they be, Joe? Where could they go right now to ask more questions as we wrap this up?
Let me go ahead and share this. Let's see. Boom. So here is their virtual booth. And so tomorrow at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., I just want to make sure that we're clear. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., you guys will be in the meeting room.
Time.
So
yes, Pacific time. Yes.
Pacific
time.
Yes, Pacific. For anybody who wants to speak more on a business-to-business level, I'm sure you're going to have attendees asking questions as well. But that's what the meeting room is for, and contact info, press release info is all here. FOMO, you actually made a cool little video for them too. So we have that, as well as, let me see here. I think you were asking about the chat room, right? So let me go ahead. Which chat room do you guys want to go in after this?
So we have lobby, or maybe the home theater audio one. Maybe that's
what do you think is most appropriate? Because we have these here. So the lobby, home theater audio. Which one do you guys want to go into?
We're happy to go, or I'm happy to go wherever.
Let's go home theater. Let's go home theater audio.
Home theater audio.
I know you guys. Let's go there.
That's more applicable. Yeah.
we'll see you guys there. I'll leave a link here, so don't leave after this. Leave it here in the private chat.
This last comment, when he's saying he's got to ask Santa to hook me up, it doesn't mean John Heron. It means actual Santa.
Oh,
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Almost got
Going full
jokes.
Santa. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, day 3 of the AV Summit. Stay tuned, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our gold sponsor, Value Electronics. Robert Zahn is going to be here. And we want to thank Brett and John from Kaleidoscope and Trinov, respectively, for being here. And they will be in the home theater audio chat room for all of the AV Summit attendees to ask their questions. We will see you guys in the next one.